Okay, everybody. Now that we've finished all the work up underneath the car, got the steering rack rebuilt, suspension put back together, before we can go ahead and head out and test drive everything, we've got to do two things. One is that steering pump down there, which you can see that thing with the tan crap sprayed all over it, that whole hose. And then you've got the reservoir right here, which I learned has a filter in it. So in order to get this thing changed, because we got a new one of those low pressure hoses right there that's all full of that tan crap. And then to get the steering pump itself out, which is that thing down there, we got to undo a couple things. So from this high pressure line over here, I went ahead and undid that one, just worm clamp or whatever you call it. I got to undo this one right here. That should allow me to pull this whole canister out. And then down in here, we've got to, finish unbolting that hose so that I can pull it all the way out when I pull this out. So I'm gonna go ahead and work on doing all that, get that pulled out, and show you that once I got it out. Okay, here it is. Like I said, I just had to do that on that one worm clamp thing that went around right here. I had already undone the one from the high pressure hose that went right there, so I just used a screwdriver to help pry it down a little bit. And then you got this hose, which has got a worm clamp right there. It's got another one right there, and then you got your connector. Like I said, I've got a new one of these hoses. I got a new one of these things. From the looks of some of these little worm clamps, I think I'm gonna go buy me some new ones tomorrow, because this one down here actually isn't even like a normal connector. It's got a like a Phillips screw head on it. So I don't know what's going on with that. It's just a different kind of thing. But so I'll probably go buy me two more of those clamps, get that thing out, get it cleaned up, throw the rest of this bull crap away. So really the only thing I'm gonna save out of that is that piece right there that connects, and then I gotta get some new crush washers with it too so it won't leak. But that's all out. So now whirl you back around here, hold on. Now you can see down in here that high pressure hose coming from back in there that goes up onto the bottom, and then down there you can see where I disconnected the that one hose that goes down into the pump. So now I got to work on getting that pump out, which some of that's from the bottom mostly, but we'll do that before we put this in, just so that as we're leaning down in here, we don't have to reach around that. But anyway, so far so good. Everything came apart. I don't think I need a new high pressure hose right now. I don't think it was leaking. I'll clean it off and all and get a better look at it without that tan crap on it, and we'll go from there. But so far so good. All right, I got that connector out of the end of the hose there. Wiped it all down, looks way better. This is the bolt that goes in it. Said I'm gonna get some new crush washers there, but anyway, that's that. I cleaned that all up too, so actually identify and see what it is. That's a 24 millimeter, by the way, if you get ready to take that out. But anyway, that's those, and now dive under the car and start working on getting the pump out. All right, the first thing I'm gonna do as far as getting this, or well, I guess the next thing, is go after that. You can see the socket down there. You can see the there's just a bolt there that helps hold the power steering pump tight, I guess. So I started backing that off 13 millimeter. Backed out pretty easy. Now we'll go ahead and I'm gonna get under the car and see what I got to do under there to try to start loosening it up. All right, so we got the bolt right up there, so I'm working on that one. There's also one down on the bottom that maybe I can show you, but right up there, there's a bolt that you got to do. Not doing it best, but anyway, 2 bolts there, and that should be able to get this thing busted loose. See if we can get out of there without having to take the whole bracket or everything off, but just gonna keep working at it and see if I can get it out of there. As I got looking at this and working on it, part of the problem is you try to back some of those bolts out, like that one in the middle of the screen. You run into the fact that it hits the pulley. So I had to get the pulley off. So I think maybe it's a 24 millimeter, I'm not sure, but I didn't have that. Biggest millimeter wrenches I have were 22, which is what the actual nut on the front of the pulley is. But you can start to see there's a second wrench there closer. That's a 15/16. And so what I did is I put that down from the bottom so that as I turned, it would pin itself up against the frame of the car. And then I could use my 22 millimeter, actually use the other one first because it was a longer one. And I actually hooked the two of them together so I could get good leverage without straining too much. And I'm finally able to bust that apart. But make sure you get that first wrench on all the way, or else it'll spin, because it's just a two-sided thing on the pump side, just like two flat spots. And if you don't get it on there all the way, then you might end up rounding that out, and then you'd really be hosed. But anyway, that's my setup. So I'm going to keep working on getting that nut off, so I can then work on getting the pulley off. So then I can get those bolts, and then I got to show you there's a hose in the back and one more bolt in the back that you got to take off in order to be able to get this pump out. Okay, so there's the belt that came off. What was making that be able to come off or not, as I crawl out of the car here, was right up there is a bolt. There you go. So you got to get that bolt up there. It's kind of it was pretty tight, but as soon as I got that undone, it allowed the pump to swivel, and then I could get the rest of it out. So now all I gotta do is get that pipe right up there. Kind of hard to do the camera work on here, but anyway, that high pressure line, I gotta work on getting that busted loose. So that's the next item, and then after that, I think I can get the pulley off the front, maybe, and get this thing out. Okay, so I had to break down and take the bracket part off. So down in there, you can see there's a bracket with that bolt sticking out of it. Well, there's two bolts in the front of it that hold it together, and then that's what the power steering pump is bolted to. I can't get the pulley off down in there because the puller's too long and all that kind of stuff. So I had to take that bracket off. What was holding that bracket in is this real short one, which is the one closest to the middle of the car, and then this one here, which is the one closest to the alternator. So that one clearly goes through. It helps hold the alternator as well. Had to grab it with a pair of pliers and just kind of tap it not too hard, but tap it with a hammer to get it out. So now I'm going to try to reach in here and get this power steering pump out. I'll put the camera down for that so I don't screw something up. But I should be able to get it all the way out because it's all unbolted, and I'll show you what it looks like when we get it on the table, and then we'll go after that pulley. There it is. Got it out. Just reach in there and pull it out from the top. You know, push some of those radiator hoses around a little bit and get this thing out. But there it is. As you can see, it is the definition of a dirty piece of mess. Sorry, my stove just locked itself up because there's something. Jesus. So here it is, a dirty piece of mess that it is. I mean, you just touch this thing pretty much anywhere and your hands are black. But we're going to start working on it, getting it busted apart so that we can do the rebuild on it. I mean, I think it's just a few gaskets in the kit, but we'll get going on it, see if we can get it apart. All right, when you get ready to take this power steering pump apart, I'll run through a couple things. First of all, you got to get that pulley off right there in order to get the rest of the thing apart, and we'll show that. But step one to disassembly is you got to get that off. Now, if you look at it, it just has that little bit right there. So your normal like claw puller and stuff won't work. So you got to use this kind of puller where you've got these two little like clamshell things. So they go on here opposing each other. And they go like that, right? Then you take this and this. So this part will also go down in here, and so that all clamps together. This goes on top. Sorry for camera work. Anyway, that goes like that. Then you twist this with the other wrench right there, and that thing will pop off. Literally, I got that on there, and I don't know, gave it, once it was tight, gave it 3 or 4 twists, and boing, came right off. Secondly, get yourself one of these clamps. I'm not sure exactly what size this is. I don't know, 8 inches, something like that maybe. And you set this up like this so that you can squeeze this. And when you do, as you squeeze this, it'll push this part down here in because it's springy. And then there's a little retaining clip. Hard to see, but it's right there. So you grab that and get that out of the way after you squish it. And then all the guts will come out. And you may have to flip it up and kind of tap on this a little bit to like make that whole thing, but everything comes out the back. So anyway, that's how you get it apart. Those are the tools I'm going to use. Just got that puller from, borrow a tool from O'Reilly's. I don't know, $10 or $12 clamp from Lowe's. So nothing super crazy, but that's what you need. Okay, so we used just some needle nose pliers. Got this little clip out. You can see basically what you got to do after you got the pressure off of it. Just grab that little sucker right there, try to pull it out. It's hard, you might think. Took me a minute or two to work on it. But now we're going to loosen this clamp and let all the guts out the back. Okay, got this thing exploded apart. So there's your clip. So this is the backing plate basically. So that's the part we were pushing on before. Inside of that, you got this spring. Then this piece, and all of this it just drops down into here from this way. So it's all sitting the way it goes in. So that's first, then that stuff, then the clip. Okay. You see these little metal pieces right here? Well, so those, pull this back over so it'll sit still. If you look at this, see all those little grooves? All those need those little metal clips in there. So we'll put this back in, then we'll feed all those metal clips, and then that thing goes down on top of them just like that. And I'll show you when we get ready to put that together. And so then that holds everything together. But when it comes apart, those fall out. So anyway, we'll get it all put back together once we get the all the seals, which that's one of them right here that we got to do. And then in here, there's a couple black seals in there that we got to do. And that's it. Once we do that, then we should be good. Also got to get some parts cleaner and stuff and get after this thing because it is nasty. But we'll work on some of that, get things switched out, and then show you the reassembly. Okay, here's the rebuild kit that we got from 928's R Us. So you can see here, there's two black rings in there. There's a white one there, and then this is the new replacement for this old one, which goes right there. I just stuck a flathead screwdriver under, from the top here, just shoved it in an angle, pried at it, got it to come up. So this is the old one. You can see it does have a little spring thing back there. No metal on the sides. This is a new one, spring on the back, and then some metal right there. So anyway, we'll get this one put in. Just get it up here. I'll put a little bit of power steering fluid on it or something so I can get it knocked down in there nice and flat. Probably use the old rubber mallet on it, get it in there, and then we'll flip this thing over and we'll start working on trying to get these in there. But that's the kit. Just 4 gaskets, I guess, and then it rebuilds. Okay, we got this done. So what you pull out of here, the furthest back one is actually 2. So it's that white one, and then it goes furthest in, and then that one goes in the same groove with it. And then this back one right here, closest to us, was this one, which is just a round, simple one before, identical to the one that was up here. On this particular kit, this is a much thicker gasket. It's actually like, kind of closed on one side and then a little bit open on the other side. I didn't have any instructions, so I put the closed side in towards the pressure and the open side on out, facing out towards the camera this way. So it's a pretty tight fit. Just had to keep pushing on it some. Use a screwdriver a little bit carefully. Wiggled it around, got it down in the groove. So I think we're all done. Now the next step is we got to start putting all those pieces and parts back together and get this thing reassembled. And once we do that, then we can get it back in the car and see where we're at. Okay, so we got the power steering pump back in. There it is. Just had to do that bolt right there. And then that bolt right there. So we got those two done. Got it back in here. Haven't put the belts on it yet, but I will. Now we're just going to work on hooking everything back up the way that we took it out. So now I got the bracket and all that done. I'll go around the back, put the bolts in the back of it, and then we'll go from there. Okay, I got it back in there. Got the bolt in the back on. I got that tight. Got the hose that was in the back reconnected. Now we're going to move on to putting the new stuff in here. So this is our new reservoir. It's got a filter inside of it and all, so that's why it says you need to replace those. Pretty easy. That's just held on with that hose clamp right there. And then we got this new hose here. So that hose runs from this all the way to this thing, which bolts onto the top of the pump with that bolt right there and the two metal washers. Anyway, I got some new clips up here, or clamps. So I'm gonna go ahead and start working on constructing this thing, get it all put back together and get it connected up. Okay, as you can see, I've got everything back in here. Got the new canister there. The hose that goes from the canister down to the pump, that's new. Put a new clamp on this other one. I checked out the high pressure hose, and aside from being a little dry looking, there's no cracking, none of that kind of stuff, so we didn't replace that. But everything's hooked back up. I've run the car a little bit, put the fluid in the canister there, ran the car a little bit. This is what we put in. It's that Dextron ATF fluid. So that's what we got in it. That's what it runs. So anyway, it's running. I've cranked it up, cranked the wheels left and right a few times, topped off the reservoir. So I think we're all done. We'll put it down on the ground and drive it some and see how it feels. I'm not 100% sure that we've got power steering. I'm afraid I might have done something wrong inside of there, in which case I'll have to pull it back out and start over, but at least if that's the case, I know how to do it. Anyway, yeah, I don't know what I could have put together wrong. I got all the stuff the way it's supposed to, went back together right. But I don't know, you never know. So we'll drive it around some, see if we got power steering or not. But I'll say this is done, and we'll move on to the rear axle now that we've done most of the stuff on the front. And we'll work on the brakes and the shocks and stuff back there, but we'll say this one is done for now. And move on to the next project and try to keep moving down the to-do list to get this thing back on the road, registered, and going to some car meets and just having fun. Okay guys, we're out on a test drive to see how all the work we've done so far on the steering and the brakes and suspension worked out. So suspension feels great, no issues there. The coolant and brakes, all that stuff, no problem. Test drive's working out great for all that. Now, as you can see, the steering wheel's a little crooked. I mean, no huge deal. That's something you can fix in an alignment shop. I tried to get it straight the best I could, but it's a little bit off. Now, the fail here is we do not have power steering. So, I guess I'm gonna have to take that thing back apart, or either just break down and buy a rebuilt one, because this thing is undrivable without power steering, and I'm not gonna do it anyway. But anyway, we failed on the power steering pump. So when I get time, I'll have to rip it back out of here and try again, see what I can do. Yeah, just disappointing on the power steering, but the brakes and suspension are all good.